Hey guys, how you doing? This is Benjamin with Benjamin's Exotics, and in this video today, there's going to be a little bit of storytelling and a few different things. Unfortunately, because I can't be managing when I'm talking and controlling another reptile at the same time, there won't be any reptiles in this video, but there will be probably a lot of pictures of them. And basically today, I just want to go ahead and talk to some of you guys out there that might be watching my videos. At this point, I don't have a huge amount of people, but we do have a steady following growing, and I've got some comments of people that have said, oh, I've helped you out with, either whether it's a feeding problem or heating gecko, etc., 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 different things like that. Because I've released a good amount of videos, a decent amount, we'll say. But what I really want to talk about in this video is for people out there that are trying to get a reptile, or they're trying to convince their parents. They don't have parents that are just, whatever, do whatever you want. They have to convince their parents, have to sell them, have to do whatever. And it really reminds me of when I was probably 7 to 9 years old. I don't really remember the exact time I got my first reptile, but ever since I was little, I'd always liked, exotic things. I'd also like building and architecture, but besides building and architecture, real estate agents and things like that, I've always really liked reptiles and, the exotic things. Not as much other species of animals and types of organic beings, if you want to call them that. Very scientific term, I guess, but basically I'd always liked reptiles. And I remember I was sitting on my parents' bed when I was probably about 6 or 7 years old, a little bit older than that, probably about 8 or 9. And at that point, I really just wanted a pet. Okay, I had fish, I had hamsters, betta fish, hermit crabs, all the basic stuff that you probably at my age shouldn't even own. But I was sitting on my bed and I really had my mind kind of fixated and set on a rabbit or a mouse or a rat or something like that, a rodent as a pet. I was sitting on the bed and I looked at my dad and my mom and I said, Mom, Dad, would you ever consider letting me get a rabbit? Or I said something to that effect. And my dad looked and he said, no, but how about a snake? And from right there, how about a snake to me, as, a little kid, that was basically, if you start liking snakes and show us that you like snakes, it's a yes. So from that exact moment, my mind was just racing and all this different stuff, and for months and months and months I did research on reptiles, and I'll talk about some of these books in a second. But I was doing all this research on reptiles and stuff, and then one day my mom said, because my cousin already had a bearded dragon and he got it a few years earlier, and one day my mom said, hey, our cousin, I won't, say any names, but basically our cousin was just talking about where he gets his food for his bearded dragon place, and it's this cool pet shop where, they have an alligator and a crocodile, and they let it, run around and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, they let a crocodile run loose and it doesn't hurt anybody? That's so cool. And they talked about how they had, big retics and Burmese pythons and all this other stuff, and it was just a really cool experience for me. So I was like, when can we go? And a few weeks later we went. They had a few stores at that point. And we went there, and oh my gosh, the first 2 snakes I saw, probably, not the first ever, but first ever ball pythons I saw, was a pastel and a Mojave ball python, 2 snakes that I own right now. And they just blew me away. When we first got them out, they were, balled up, but it took about 7 or 10 minutes, but we got them out, and I just loved them. Every part about them, the way they moved, the way they felt, their colors, just everything I loved about them was great. And, after that, we talked to the people for hours and hours on end, and probably months and months went by, and then I finally started, popping the question asking, Mom and Dad, would you ever consider letting me either buy my own, or would you get me a ball python? And at first, of course, my mom doesn't like reptiles at all, so she's freaking out. She's like, what, a snake in our house? No way, never. Because, what's the average person think about a snake? or a reptile. They think, oh my gosh, it's going to get out, it's going to bite somebody, it's going to eat something, going to get in the walls, going to destroy stuff. You're going to wake up and it's going to be sitting right there trying to eat you, because they've heard all these bullcrap stories about, the boa's stretching out and it's sizing you up to eat you. And that just really screws some people up. But I looked at him, and it took a really long time, but finally I did. I convinced him, and it was probably my mom that sort of, my dad basically, he thought that my mom would never go for a snake, so that's why he said, when I was asking for a rabbit, how about a snake? So, finally, it did happen. I got a ball python, or I got the yes to get a ball python. We went in it took a few months, actually, to get this snake, because not only did I have to get a certain amount of grades at school, my behavior, because you had the little color boards that you'd clip on. I don't know if everybody had those, but I had to get the best grades, had to get perfect behavior, and we were also looking for the best quality snake, because my dad said, when you're looking for this snake, make sure it's the best quality, high quality, because if you just want a snake as a pet, I'll go out in the backyard, right over there. Oh great, the lights, yeah. Beautiful lighting. I'll just go out in the backyard and I'll catch you a garter snake, and that can be your pet. Okay, but I did not want a garter snake. I wanted a ball python, because I'd seen Snake Bites TV and all these amazing color morphs and things like that. So I picked out my first ball python, and we actually, the day I went there and I was saying, okay, today's the day I think I'm going to get one. I wanted to get a normal ball python just because I thought, they were the best price. If I found out that I really didn't like it, I wouldn't be spending too much money, or I wouldn't be losing too much money. And the normals I just thought looked the most natural and coolest, to be honest with you, back then. I still think normals are really beautiful now, but unfortunately they're probably one of the most abused types of snakes in the reptile trade, just because of their price and their calmness. If you mess around with them too much, they really won't bite you or anything. So I had two choices of a snake. One of them was completely fine, but he was balled up. Completely balled up, wasn't looking around, just sitting there in a ball in the cage, right? And then there was another one, which was mine, and the first turnoff was that, he had stuck shed down his whole back that the store owner hadn't removed off. And that was almost a turning point. That was almost where I said I was going to get the one on the ball, but the one with the stuck shell was moving around. He was moving around, he was active. When I held him, he showed, such good response. His tongue was flicking and everything. And I was like, this is basically the perfect snake for me. So, picked up that snake, picked up the cage and everything the same day, got a starter set, and that's where I basically am now, where I've got, a few of them, and I'm hoping to get, in the next, literally, few days, a few more, which you guys will see a video of that. But I really quickly want to just talk about, since I've basically told you a little story, one of the biggest things, I'm going to be honest, that I think impacted me getting my reptile. And to be honest, the answer is right here. Books. That might sound a little bit weird, and you probably expected me to be talking about, well, you gotta, make deals with your parents and all that good stuff, or all that stuff is good, making deals with your parents, like, well, if you let me get a snake, I'll do more chores, or I'll do this or that, and that's always a good idea as well. But every day, I would wake up, I would talk about snakes. Every day I would wake up, I would try to educate them about snakes. Every day I would wake up, I would read a book about snakes. I would Google something about snakes. I was completely obsessed with ball pythons in particular, but, reptiles and snakes. So the first ever reptile book that I got, unfortunately I couldn't find it right now, but one of the first ones I got, at least, was this right here. I don't know how old this book was, or it is. It's by School Scholastic. It's got a little bit of wear on it. But, man, I flipped through this book, and, oh my gosh, I just looked at all these reptiles, and I was like, dude, you gotta see these crocodiles, and the lizards with green and red on, the top of their head, and all these amazing things, and then the snakes and boas, and these aren't even real pictures, so these are just drawings, and I was fascinated with them. And, even when I was in kindergarten, we one time found a loose gecko or something. It was red with a blue head, some sort of lizard. And I caught it, and I think it's in this book somewhere, and that's what really was fascinating to me about this book. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a gecko I caught when I was in preschool. But every day I was waking up, and this was the main book right here that I was looking at. It's very old now. As you can see, the ink's basically rubbed off. The pages are, ripping. It's literally, you can't really tell, but this whole thing right here, thanks to my mom a few years ago, this whole thing came off the front of this, and she taped it back on. You can't really see it too good, but you can kind of see the tape there. So this thing is held together with tape, and as you can see, that's not writing. That's the ink rubbed off from the other side. And then this is kind of destroyed, and you can see the smudges. But this is a very old book, at least to me, and it got so much use. I read it every single day. Anytime we would drive to go to the bank or something, I would read it in, the car or something like that. I'd get home and I would read it, and I basically, after months and months of doing this, I knew basically everything about a ball python. Now, not everything, of course. I know way more now than I did back then, but I knew the basic care and what temperatures they were supposed to be in the egg incubation and how big a female needed to be to breed. And, when you breed a ghost to a ghost, and I learned about, especially with this stuff right here, the genetics, learned about heterozygous and codominant and dominant and, allelic, polymorphic, all these words that I couldn't even really pronounce back then. I'd be like, I can't even say how I would say it, but I couldn't even pronounce the words. But books are really the big thing I think that sold me. I would go out, I bought this one book right here. This book I bought with my own money. Most of the other ones in here were either gifted to me, but this is the only one I remember. I think it was like about $9 or $10. Yeah, this one's like $9 right here. But I bought this with my own money when we went to the store. And then these books are newer, and these didn't get as much use, but I did start getting books like this, talking about king snakes and milk snakes, even though I wasn't even getting these, or I didn't want to get these. And then I actually had some anoles at one point, but I got books about anoles, more books about ball pythons, and then we had these amazing books. You'd go to like Ollie's and stuff, and you'd find these really nice, all these good stuff cheap, if you guys know what I'm talking about, the store logo. But these really nice hardback books, and just the pictures and the the writing on it, and just it's absolutely amazing what all these different snakes looked like. And I was thinking, whoa, what if I could get like a big reptile room? The room I'm sitting in right now, I envisioned actually. Oh, that would be such a cool thumbnail. I might actually make that the thumbnail. But just oh, there's a blood python. I can't even talk now. I love blood pythons as well. I have no clue what I was just saying now. But there's so many cool things that you can see in books like these. And this book is probably, what, crazy price? $6. And no, of course we're not sponsored by Ollie's, but just showing you guys. And here's a rainbow boa. Just amazing illustrations and pictures. And that's some sort of king snake. That's another king snake. But all these amazing illustrations, and I got a book on this and frogs. But if there's one thing I want you guys to get out of this video, I know it's been a lot of me rambling about how I first got a snake and my whole story and stuff like that. But if you guys really want to know how to get a snake, you just really have to show, in my opinion, you have to show dedication. You have to prove yourself. And I'm going to be honest right now, straight up and forward, with some parents, you will never, in their house, be able to have a reptile. Try your best. You never know if your parent would ever let you or not. Try your best. Show dedication. Show up, just like at work. Show up every day. Work as hard as you can at trying to, show them that you're responsible and show them what a great pet these make. But don't, of course, overdo it, because that can also ruin your chances if you're every day bugging the snot out of them. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just a little bit of story and background into how I first got into reptiles. And if I had one thing to say to you guys on how to get more reptiles, or how to talk your parents into getting the first reptile, books. Now, this is, of course, just basic stuff. Any kid can, without even reading this, look through the pictures and see, oh my gosh, like that's like a queen bee right there. That's a pastel. That's a normal. That's a normal. That's also a normal. No more morphs. No morphs. There's a few morphs in the back. But any little kid, or, literal kid that doesn't want to read this whole thing even, just little manuals like this. Real nice, pretty cheap. You can probably get your parents to get them for you. And if they see you reading this every day, you probably got a good chance. Now, if you're absolutely crazy and insane like I am, you can go out and find, General Stroll, or how do you say that, Zoology, Volume 3, Amphibians and Reptiles, and this guy's got, oh my god, so many things in this. The illustrations aren't the best, but this is basically just your dictionary for snakes. So many different things it talks about in here. But I wouldn't go this advanced. This is just something this is more something to show off that I've read. And then this one talks a lot about the importance of not ball python, but reptile healths, and it talks about incubation. And this really is really advanced. You don't even need this to breed a ball python or a leopard gecko or anything basic. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. I wish you all success in getting your new reptiles, hoping they're healthy. Check out our other videos to make sure that your ball python, leopard gecko, crested gecko, whatever, has the best possible health. We specialize basically in ball pythons. But as I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.